Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Hopefully, everybody's doing all right. Once again, if you follow our tennis channel and you begin to start seeing weather videos pop up, you know that we have a high likelihood of getting some significant tropical or severe weather impacts here in this area. Well, where is this area? We live in Dauphin Island, Alabama, which is delineated where that blue dot is, and that is right on the Alabama Gulf Coast. My partner that does these weather forecasts with me, Mike. What's up, Mike? We've been doing this together for about 30 years. He is on the Mississippi Gulf Coast in that area. So I must say it's not every day that we can turn on our local weather radar and you see two rather significant storms that are approaching this general area at one point in time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to a couple other sets of maps and models so we can get an idea of how it is that this is happening in the first place, when to expect it, and what potentially we can expect. So let me jump over here. Now I'm doing these kind of in between some tennis lessons today, so hopefully it's not too thrown together, but I'll do my best. All right, so let's look at the first tropical depression. This is Tropical Depression number 14. So Tropical Depression number 14 is still in the southern Caribbean Sea, and it still has the Yucatan Peninsula to deal with. You know, why is that such a big deal? You know, when one of these systems goes over land, it tends to weaken. So the Yucatan will obstruct this from weakening very much more than currently. It does show that it's forecasted to get into the hurricane type status for a short period of time. Looks to be sometime Monday morning, but this projection does have it coming ashore as a relatively run-of-the-mill type tropical storm near the Louisiana-Texas border. Some of these storms, by the way, as I discussed in the last videos, will deviate from their current projected path, sometimes by a long shot, almost every time you look at them. Well, this didn't happen from my previous show yesterday into today. So we'll talk about briefly why these storms are really kind of staying within a relatively narrow projected path, and why they're not deviating from what the models state, every couple of hours. So here are the most recent models for Tropical Depression number 14. Again, here's the center of circulation down here in the southern Caribbean, down near Belize, Honduras. And all of the models, for the most part, are relatively close together. So yesterday we had some outliers coming out in this area and some into the southern Texas area. But now they're kind of all coming together in a sense, right up the kind of borderline between Louisiana and Texas. I must remind everyone that it is the north and eastern side of these storms that tends to have the most impacts, rainfall, storm surge, winds, etc. Always happen on this right side, okay? It depends on how big the storm is, how far that side goes to the east. So we'll have to see what happens over the next couple of days to see how big this storm gets. But again, if the northeastern side comes ashore, central Louisiana, then anywhere from, say, New Orleans, coastal Mississippi, where Mike is, to Dauphin Island area of Alabama, can feel impacts from this. Now, the real kicker is that we have two of these storms heading into the Gulf of Mexico at the same time. So when you're in a low-level area, like, say, coastal Dauphin Island, or coastal Alabama, coastal Mississippi, especially Dauphin Island, the western end of it, when you begin to have multiple days of high tide that is well above normal, some of our low-lying areas are basically inundated with water, leaving people not being able to get home, tourists not being able to get in and out of their rentals, businesses suffering, etc. So it's a really big deal if any storm heads into the Gulf of Mexico at all, if you're talking about, let's say, west end of Dauphin Island, where we live, or let's say low-lying areas of coastal Mississippi, where Mike lives, or places like New Orleans that are below sea level. So let's look at some intensity models with this storm. This is another set of models. Again, you can see them all honed in kind of in that area. But let's look at some intensity models and what to expect for intensity from this storm. On the left axis or y-axis of this graph, we have wind speed projections. So you can see you got 15, 30, 45 miles per hour, etc. Right at 74 mile per hour, the Category 1 hurricane would then come into play. But all of these models are kind of coming into agreement that this storm will stay in the run-of-the-mill tropical storm strength, or maybe a low Category 1 hurricane. So that's good news. Again, there is no good news for where we live or coastal Louisiana or Mississippi, because this means that tides well above normal will cause flooding issues. So everybody watching on Dolphin Island, we know how bad it can get just simply with a bad thunderstorm during high tide, much less multiple days full of tropical weather. So we definitely need to keep an eye on that storm for those reasons. But wind damage, etc., I don't think will be an issue with this one. So I think all in all, we just have to look out for coastal flooding here. So what I'm going to do is skip over to the next storm, which you can see is starting to take shape. And taking shape, I think it will. So this is the latest forecasted cone from the National Hurricane Center. You can see that the dead center of this cone is right here where we are. Now, there's an old saying that Mike and I have, and it kind of goes like this, and it's not really a quote, it's just something we always say, is that this many days out, it shows here that landfall could happen here around Wednesday morning sometime. That's good news for me if it happens, because that means daylight filming and the videos are much better. However, when the cone is right above us this far out, Mike and I always say, man, darn. Well, why do we say darn? Most people would be like, hooray. We say darn because it generally means that the storm's not going to come over us. So we get all excited and we're like, yeah, we get to go surfing, we get to go do weather videos, we get to track storms. But when it's 5 days out, it never comes here. So the good news for some is that because the cone's on us now, there's a pretty good chance it won't be on us then. I guess for my own weather recording purposes, I like to see the cone way away from us this far out, because then I still think it has a chance for all the mathematicians and meteorologists to get their story straight and move a little bit more into reality. So I don't think this will hold true. If it does, wow. All right, so that's the projected cone. Again, we are right here, right above where that H, which stands for hurricane, is. So let's back up from this and take a look at why this is happening, and how do these two storms, which are further away from us, how do they both get into the Gulf of Mexico at the same time? Let me find a good map to do this on. Let's use the latest forecast models for this storm, actually. So let's go to this one. I like this one. All right. So in the Gulf of Mexico right now, we have a trough of low pressure that is hanging around in this area. Now remember, we have another storm down in this area. This storm is over in this area. Well, how can they meet up at the same time? Well, currently in the Atlantic, there is a ridge of high pressure that is here. So this high pressure is actually pushing this storm along in this direction at a very fast pace. I think it's moving right now west at 18 miles per hour. So this storm is moving much slower. So this one will eventually catch up due to this high pressure ridge pushing it along, and will ultimately meet up with this low pressure in the western Gulf of Mexico and slow it down. So as these two storms converge, they will both meet this low level ridge, and both storms will turn northerly and then to the east. So that's why that is going to happen. So this ridge of low pressure is kind of drawing the storms in with steering from the high pressure. And again, that will slow these storms down and turn them north in our general direction. So that is how it's able to happen. Steering systems, low pressure systems, and just kind of riding the road. Now the models are staying true because none of these systems, none of these high pressure systems, none of these low pressure troughs have been moving whatsoever. So as long as that happens, then it's like an interstate. It's like a hurricane interstate. We're going to have an interstate run right into the northern Gulf, Gulf Coast. But again, these steering systems can move, can change at any time, but just the outlook is that they will not, hence why the models are running true. So you can see that the consensus of these models is that landfall would take place for this storm within the Mobile, Alabama area. Again, there is risk or outliers that deviate, over towards Texas, Louisiana, up the East Coast, over Florida. So anything can happen here. Now, let's look at the intensity forecast. Love this one. Let's go. All right. So the intensity models for this one are taken rather seriously. You can see in this model that some of these intensity models have this storm getting up as much as a Category 4. I really would think about leaving my home here on Dolphin Island if it became a Category 4. We all know that lives can be lost, property can be destroyed in just a minimal hurricane, but much less a Category 4. I think it would be some great weather filming in a Cat 4, but I think I may have to run across the water for a Category 4, but we'll see. But if you can see here that most of the models at least have it climbing into a Category 1 hurricane, some of them taking it 2 to 3 and as much as 4. So I will state this. I repeat, I'm getting tongue twisted, I'm getting excited here. So I will say this, everyone on the northern Gulf of Mexico from, say, Houston, Texas, Louisiana coast, Mike in Mississippi, us here on Alabama coast, Dolphin Island, Mobile, Florida Panhandle, Pensacola, Destin, Fort Morgan, Orange Beach, Apalachicola, Panama City. Watch this one, because if it does get to be an upper Category 1, 2, 3, 4, you're looking at property damage, tree damage, things falling, shingles slicing through the air like shrapnel. Be careful, storm surge. Now, the big thing for us here on Dolphin Island is that 2 of these things at one time makes for a mammoth amount of coastal flooding. So I think that will be something to take very seriously, especially if you are living in these coastal flood zones. So hopefully everybody stays safe, but this storm right here has the potential to be big. And we hope that maybe it doesn't get big, but it definitely may. So everyone watch out for these 2 storms. It's an unprecedented type situation. 2 of these storms rolling through to ultimately meet up at the same time. So what I'll do is Mike and I will start doing daily weather videos once these make a run closer to our area. So it looks like landfall for these storms could be anytime between Tuesday afternoon, evening, and to Wednesday morning. So I think Sunday, maybe Sunday afternoon, I'll have a pretty good idea, or we will have a pretty good idea if any of these storms are going to make direct impacts here. And when we do know that, then we will begin daily weather updates. So for today, take care. See ya. I got to get back out to the course and teach a few lessons, but much love to everyone. We really enjoy doing these videos for everybody, so much love. Vamos, let's go. Come on. Stay strong, stay positive, stay safe. Do what we got to do to get through this very tough year that we've all gone through. It will get better. Stay positive, work hard, do good things for people, and that will do really good things for you. So until next time, thank you. Take care. Please subscribe. It's always a joy for us to do these weather videos for you. In the meantime, stay safe, and I look forward to the next video. All right? Peace out. See ya.